How
How
are
you
you?
doing, Ashley?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Can't complain.
You look nice. I like your top.
Thank you. You as well. I like this. I like this little backdrop you got going on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. SIDDIQ, I'm so happy that you're talking to us today. I have so much to talk about. So I hope you don't mind my first question. How are you feeling as a Black man in America right now?
Hmm. It's a heavy one. It's a complex one. I feel a lot of things. I feel proud, first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I feel angry. Um, and I feel motivated to figure out to continue to find specificity within my lane and how I'm going to combat negativity towards Black people, white supremacy, all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, there's some positive in there, but there's definitely some frustration, some anger, some pain, all wrapped up into it. So
I ask you because of the state of, the climate that we are in right now. We can't deny it or like look away from it. It is
right.
what it is. And so I posted or reposted on my story today this billboard, and it had the names of Black men and Black women who were killed by the police while doing normal activities. So
Right.
jogging, going to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in a situation where you felt nervous being out doing a normal activity like jogging, going to the store, going to the bank, or what have you, just doing a normal activity? Have you felt the like tense up, or the like if you've seen the police, have you felt that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Black man, so every time I see the police, it's kind of like I'm allergic, you
right.
know. Driving, extra precaution while driving, making
Mm-hmm.
sure, I just feel you could feel the body tense up a bit.
Right.
Um, for me, whenever I'm around police or anything like that, not because I'm scared of them per se, but I just don't know. It's in the society and the world that we live in, this America, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't know where something can go.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if the turn, it can start off as a stop for a light and then end up, you know,
Right.
you either thrown in jail or worse. So yeah, no, I definitely I felt that I've actually had my own personal experience with run-ins with the police before, and was wrongfully, thrown in the cell off of nothing, off of inquiring about one of my friends who was actually, having an issue with the police. And then I somehow got wrapped into it, not somehow because I was Black, and ended up in a cell. And so I've had that experience firsthand. Don't wish it on anybody, because it was just it's a traumatic experience,
Right.
and it's so small because it happens within our community so often, but that doesn't mean that it's not traumatic, and that doesn't mean that you don't have to heal from that, and that there are things that can come up later, triggers that may come up later, that I don't even know about, all the protesting and stuff right now, the things of people being arrested. And, there was for a minute, I was a little refrained from that, and,
Right.
and wanting to be kind of there because of my experiences that I've had. But, I still ended up going to some protests and stuff like that. But, yeah, no, it's a hard thing.
I love that you say, or not love, because I hate the fact that we even have to have these types of conversations, but the fact that you said that it was traumatic. And I feel like this is all traumatic, even if you haven't been placed in jail by police. Watching the different things that we see on TV, on social media reported, it's very traumatizing to us in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
How have you dealt with your trauma from that? Or do you seek therapy? Have you just kind of brushed it under the rug? How have you dealt with that?
I kind of originally I brushed it under the rug. It was actually, you know, it happened 2 days before the premiere of Wu-Tang, actually.
Wow.
So 2 days before the premiere of Wu-Tang, I was in Burbank, California. And yeah, that's when I was wrongfully accused, thrown in jail.
Right.
They didn't tell me why, until I got to the actual, jail, and was booked why. And apparently I was, you know, it, sorry.
No.
I don't really, yeah, I think you asked me how I was dealing with it. And so I
That's
said,
right.
yeah, to a certain extent it is brushing under the carpet, because yeah, it is such a it's a reality for a lot of Black people,
Right.
within, having run-ins with the cops within, our communities. And so to a certain extent it feels a little like, well, this is just kind of what happens. And even
And that's
that's
that.
fucked up, even
Right.
that's,
Right.
there's so much wrong in that.
Right.
What helps me is working out, staying physically fit and active, mentally strong, physically strong, and spiritually strong,
Yes.
to withstand all the shit that we face as Black people living in America. So I
And
feel like that's self-care is the way that you can work through all of those things, is by making sure that you are strong physically, mentally, and spiritually. So,
thank you for sharing that, because
yeah.
people need to know, like, how can they work through those emotions.
Mhm.
So thank you for sharing that. So SIDDIQ, you grew up in Brooklyn, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
What was your childhood like as a child? What did you dream of doing? Did you want to be a teacher, or was it always, I wanted to be an actor? How was that?
Low key, it was always acting for me.
Okay.
Yeah, like I remember I was like in kindergarten, I think, when I did my first play,
Mm-hmm.
and I played Arthur, Arthur the Aardvark. The
Yeah.
Arthur TV show. We did like a little play version or whatever. So yeah, I was just like doing plays in school and
Mm-hmm.
always kind of drawn to that. And then I went to a middle school for drama. I was in the drama program in middle school and high
Mm-hmm.
school, and then eventually in college. So it's kind of always been something that I've been interested in, and my passion. And growing up in New York, with the Broadway just being a train ride away, I was always going to see a bunch of Broadway shows, musicals, or plays, and doing the student rush tickets for $25 and stuff like
Right.
that. So I got to see all of the, I still have like a collection of my playbills and stuff on some
Right.
nerdy shit, but like, it's just what I love. I've always been drawn to it. But I don't think it wasn't until I'd say I got to college, I got into my school, that I realized that, oh wait, this is actually what I can do as a career and be a working actor. I always knew I was going to be an artist. I always knew that I was going to make money doing something within the arts, whether it be choreography or directing or writing or something. I knew I was going to do something. But once I got into school for acting for college, I was like, all right, bet, like this is just what I'm going to be doing.
And you attended Carnegie Mellon University. How did
Mhm.
that prepare you for where you are today? That experience.
Um, for me, it was I think a couple things. The weight that the school holds, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, within the industry, and people kind of referring to that as like a really good school for acting, or a really good school for the arts, just, and a really good school in general, because they have a bomb, computer engineering programs and
Mm-hmm.
all different types of programs. So to me, like, people say like steel sharpens steel, or iron sharpens iron. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was a big thing, was entering into this ensemble of people who were all, the most lit and where they came from, the best actor or the best singer or whatever. So it was kind of like that just brought it up a notch for me. And I think that, on top of having so many notable alumni,
Right.
Katina Miller, Billy Porter, Zachary Quinto, and then having those people come back to the school and teach classes, it bridged the gap in my mind between this idea of famous actor, or famous this, or even fame in general, or
Mm-hmm.
that came down to working actor, working person, like something that was achievable. So then it wasn't about, it's never really been about the fame or anything like that for me. It was always about the craft, and
Right.
also being able to support myself. And
Yes.
so here I was going to the school that was teaching me all of these things, all of these techniques, that I can use, you
Mm-hmm.
know, within my acting. And on top of that, I'm meeting these people who have come from this program and are now successful. And so that the closing of that gap, I think, is what did it for me.
Let me ask you this, SIDDIQ. I've asked this question before to people that, you know, are trained and they go and educate themselves in the field of acting. For you,
Right.
per se, do you feel that it's important for people to, if they want to pursue a career in acting, get trained, go to the schools like yourself? Or do you feel like if you're not able to get into a school, you can still have a successful career? What are your thoughts on that?
I think I think you can still have a successful career
Right.
if you're not able to get into the school. But to me, training is important.
Mm-hmm.
That's just because that's what I know.
Right.
You know, I'm sure if it wasn't my trajectory, I maybe have some other opinions, but I can only speak from what I know, and what I
Right.
know is the training. I know that what it gives you is longevity, I believe. Because, you know, in school, you learn things like, you know, you do voice and speech training. So you learn how to warm up your instrument, you know, and that's something that you need over time. It's like you put, you know, it's like working on a car. Like if you're in this car, like school to me is like getting all the parts, knowing how to work all the parts, knowing how to fix something. If there's a leak or a flat tire or something, you know how to fix it. So that way you can go further. Whereas, yeah, you may have this really nice car, this really cool, flashy, you know, you may be this real cool, interesting person that everybody loves right now, and you're this
Right.
flashy car, but how are you going to feel after 100,000 miles of driving, or 50,000 miles, or even 25,000 miles? You may break down and you don't have no tools to fix it.
I love that. That's a good.
So
That's good.
training to me is very, very important. And I also believe with the more you train, the more flexible you become as an artist.
Right.
And then you can take on a bunch of different roles, because I think that that's what, you know, the acting is when you're not necessarily the character that you're playing, but yet you have the skill set to transform into this person and be believable within these circumstances, and have the audience be like, oh yeah, like that's so-and-so from the show, you know,
Right.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I love that. So your training prepared you very well for your role as it's called
Thank you
Ghostface
so much.
Killer in Wu-Tang American Saga. Man, you guys killed it. I mean,
Thank you.
and for those who have not watched it, it's the coming of age story, basically, of you guys as kids. You're coming up in Staten Island, and you're trying to basically find your way out, but in the midst of all of these circumstances that, you know, kids grow up in, and you're just trying to find your way, and your way out is through music. Talk to us about how you got this role. I mean, you killed it. I'm like, yes,
Thank you
so much. Talk to
Thank
us
you so
about
much.
this.
Yeah, so I auditioned out in LA. Actually, I was living out there at the time. And I remember getting my first audition, and I didn't really know. I think I actually originally auditioned for Bobby.
What?
Yeah, so I went in for Bobby, and this was still at the time that I didn't even know that, like, Bobby was RZA and Dennis Coles was Go. You know, I didn't know these things, and so I did, you know, my Bobby audition, and then they called me back in for Dennis, and then even then I was like, oh, maybe this is another Wu member that I don't know about, you know, maybe this is a different character. So my initial auditions, I actually didn't even know that it was Ghostface that I was portraying, which I think is super important in the whole process of how I attacked it, because I'm not playing Ghostface. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm playing Dennis Cole. He was a very different, that was like the seed of this huge tree that everybody knows. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I really was trying to figure out that person before I tried to attach all these other preconceived notions, you know, about who, you know, Ghost is.
Right.
So yeah, that was the process. I originally, you know, did my audition for Dennis. Then it was some time passed, and then I got a call back, and I was like, okay, bet. You know, that's when I met some of the producers, and then I had my I think I had my producer session. That's again where I met some of the producers. I think that's where I met RZA the first time, and then the last step was a chemistry read that I had with Zoli. At
Yes,
that
you
point,
guys, I love you
yeah.
guys so much.
At that point, she'd been cast already, and I just remember that there was like me and this one other dude in the waiting room, and I'm from Brooklyn, so I was bumping my Jay-Z on the way there. I was in that,
As you
waiting room,
should.
listening to some Wu, mixed in there, and was just like, this is my role. And I went in there. I remember I forgot I don't know who the gentleman was, but he came up to me and was like, yo, bro, like, good luck. In my mind, I'm just like, don't wish me too much, bro, because this is a wrap.
I got this. I already
So,
got it.
yeah, so it was one of those, but so yeah, that was the process of getting the role.
And so then you find out you get it. How do you find out? Do you get a call from your agent, your manager?
Yeah.
Where are you when you get the call? Where are you?
I remember getting that call too, because it was a lot of back and forth. It was like this person really liked you, or that person really, and for me, my main, something that came up for me that almost was like a pause was the fact that I was a newcomer. So here I am in between, Ashton Sanders from Moonlight and Shamik Moore from Dope. And I didn't have no, major credits on my resume. I was a guest star on Boomerang on BET, and then I also had a recurring role on Messiah on Netflix. But other than that, I didn't have this long list of things. So a lot of it was like, oh, well, can we trust him, or da 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 da? Is he prepared to carry this? But I was. I was. So I'm glad they took that chance on me. I'm really thankful for the opportunity, for sure. But I remember getting a call, because I say all that to say, leading up to it was a lot of conversations where I was like, so did they keep calling my agents? I was calling my agent, I was calling my manager, I was trying to figure out, and they was still kind of like, they were making their calls to their people, and it was still kind of so much in the air. I think the night that I found out, I was on my way out. It was on a Friday, I believe. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going to find out till Monday. I'm not going to find out till next week. So I'm going to just chill out. I'm going to go out with my homies, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to just, just be out and try to forget about it.
Right.
And so I remember I was getting dressed or whatever. And then I get a call. It's from my manager. And I'm just like, hold on. And then he's like, yeah, I got your agent on the phone. And so I'm like, whenever they both on the phone together, I'm like, hold on, something is going on.
Is that a good sign when they're both on the phone? Okay.
Right. I mean, it's either good or normally it's good, because if it's some bad news, only one of them gotta say it. Right. Oh yeah, it was also my birthday weekend. But yeah, so I remember getting dressed and just getting a call, and he was like, yeah, I got your agent on the phone. And then I think my manager said something like, yeah, I'm just so excited to visit you on set. And so I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? For what? Right. And then he was like, yeah, you booked the Wu-Tang. And I was just ecstatic. Like, I was like feeling so blessed. And yeah, no, facts. And I remember like telling my mom and
what did she say? Were they proud? Were they like,
yeah, because they've been my mom, especially my mom has been such a support for me throughout the entire process. She's known for a long time that this is what I was passionate about, but she always pushed me to get an education and to make sure that if this is what I was going to do, that I was going to be able to do it well. And so having somebody, that support system, and not just, her, my dad, my brother, my family in general, because like I said, I've been acting for a really long time. So it was just like, I did it, it was like one of those moments.
Everybody should celebrate. That's beautiful. So you get the call your birthday weekend, and then you show up to set, and then you're playing Dennis Cole, Ghostface Killer. Right. Did you ever conversate with him and talk to him? How did you approach playing this character from, like you said, Dennis Cole, not necessarily Ghostface? How did you approach the role?
Right.
Are you reading comments? Are you reading the comments in here?
No.
Oh.
No. Okay. I did just see that one about the birthday weekend, but no, that was the only one. But as far as speaking to him, I actually didn't speak to him for a while we were filming. I think it was about maybe like the third or fourth episode before I actually met him in person.
Okay.
Yeah, originally I was just kind of taking it off of RZA's, what he was saying, because he was very involved and he was there during the first 3 episodes, which were like the building blocks of creating the character and everything. So I really just leaned into that because I'm a strong believer you can learn a lot about a person by what they say about themselves, but I feel like you can learn a little bit more about what other people are saying. Because, you may have this one perception of what's going on, but, from the outer perspective, how other people are, taking it, that's just, you can just learn from that. I'm not saying one is more important than the other. Actually, I just think you can learn a lot about what other people are saying as well.
Right.
So I was, relying on RZA and kind of checking in with him. I also did a lot of research. I watched a lot of old videos of, interviews and with Ghost and about the things that he liked to do, the music that he liked to listen to growing up. I remember in my trailer, I would listen to, some of the music that he said that he liked to listen to. I remember, I went to the comic book store and got some Iron Man comics and I would read that in my spare time, so there were just like little things instead of just trying to, immediately connect with him and I tried to find the other clues that were around, because there's a lot of clues about who a person is and, what things that influence them out there. And so I used that, in the beginning. And then, when I finally met him, it confirmed a lot of things for me. And so, yeah, that was kind of my process. It was a little more, outside of the box than I think most people would assume.
And did you listen to Wu-Tang? Were you familiar with their individual stories or any of it growing up? You grew up in Brooklyn. Did you know about them? Obviously.
Yeah. I definitely grew up listening to their music. I was familiar with their music. I wasn't like a Wu head necessarily, but I was definitely familiar with, METHOD, man, and Cream, of course. So there was certain things that I knew about the story before we started, but there was so much that I learned, and I was so happy to have that a little bit more, again, like more of an open mind approaching it, because I didn't feel limited. There were certain things that I was able to do, or ways that I was able to think about these characters that I think if I had been such a huge Wu fan and a huge Ghost fan, that would have caused a block for me in developing this character, because some of the story that we telling is factual and some of it is more fictional for the story. So again, there's even that distance, within that. And so I think that is important to have a little bit of space. Even when you are playing a real person, as an actor, I like to have a little bit of space so that I can do a little bit of my thing and create something for the audience. Because at the end of the day, we telling the story to the audience, it's for y'all, so.
Well, y'all told it to us well, because you guys got picked up for season 2.
Yes.
I'm so excited for season 2 because I felt like the way it ended, it's so much more. Obviously, it's so much more because you guys hadn't got started the way it ended. So if you guys hadn't watched it, go and stream season 1 on Hulu right now. But I'm so excited about season 2. Talk to us a little bit about what we can expect, if you know anything, and also, we were missing a few people. Are we going to see you and Capadonna in season 2? Will we get a little bit of that in you and Raekwon's, like, evolving of your... Will we break it down for us, season 2? What can we expect?
See, I wish I had more to break down for y'all, but I really don't. You know what I'm saying? With the pandemic, all productions were put on hold, and it affected a lot of our scheduling. So I'm looking forward to it just as much as y'all, to get to know the story and new characters and stuff that's going to be introduced for the next season. But I don't know about season 2. But we definitely will be, starting back up soon once all this Corona stuff dies down a little bit, and not even dies down, but just start to understand it more so then we can work around it. But we haven't been on set, so I'm sorry to. I know a lot of people have been dying for some information, but I don't have the information. I'm dying for it too. So
we're excited because I think it was supposed to be coming out at the end or the end of this year, like because it came out in September of last year, so I think it was supposed to be coming out around that same time of this year, but probably not. Coronavirus has taken over our world. We'll be looking out.
Coronavirus.
I know, coronavirus. We'll be looking out. So keep us posted on that. So Messiah, talk to us about that. You played Keon Woods. Talk to us a little bit about your character, Messiah.
Yeah, so Keon was he was a college student. In the first season, I think it was funny because when I read the character breakdown, I was like, dang, this sounds a little like me, which is cool. But yeah, he was just a college student. He was a hardworking kid. I know his uncle was in the CIA and, you know, had a tie to Eva. He was like really intuitive and a scholar, intellectual, you know what I'm saying? But then by the end of the season, he kind of, with the Messiah arriving and not knowing if it's real or not real, or, you know, what, just like where he stood within his own beliefs, it started to lead him into a little bit more of a rebellious spirit. I mean, I wish I had a little more time to, you know, develop him. And I was meant to come back as a larger role, or so I was told, for the next season. But we actually, Messiah got canceled for season 2. So
I saw that.
Yeah, I think it was a little too hot for the people, especially with all that's going on right now. So I completely understand it. You know, I'm a firm believer that what's meant to be will be. Yeah. So it just that role just wasn't meant to be.
It did receive some backlash in regards to like the Muslims and how they were depicted or whatnot. Loved you in that too. I mean, you are thebomb.com. But SIDDIQ, Romeo and Juliet. This is exciting news, right? Yes. Because this is a full circle moment for you, because you actually played Romeo in a play when you were like, what, 21 or something? Talk to us about this full circle moment of you played Romeo in a play growing up, and now you're going to be portraying and starring in a remake, if you will, a modern day take on Romeo and Juliet. Talk to us a little bit about this this movie rather, and when we can see it.
Yeah, so it is it was a blessing, because I definitely have some experience. You know, I mean, even in school, we studied Shakespeare. We had an entire semester, 2 semesters actually, of Shakespeare. So I've, you know, trained in it. And like you said, I played Romeo in Chautauqua Theater Company's production back in 2017, I believe. This was right before I moved out to LA.
Okay.
And then right after Wu-Tang happened, I remember my agent saying like, yeah, we got this audition for this Romeo and Juliet movie. The director, Kerry Williams, he's, you know, up and coming Black director, really dope, had some, you know, accolades from Sundance, and had his, you know, movies in the film circuits and stuff, like the festival circuits, I should say. So I was really excited, and I was like, oh, dope. And, you know, at the time, you know, back when I played Romeo, I feel like I was a very Romeo-esque time in my life, but now I'm playing Mercutio, who's a little bit more wild, a little more brash, a little more out there, and I definitely feel like that aligns with kind of what's going on in my life right now. So definitely a blessing. It was really dope experience. I got to work with some really dope artists, Cameron Engels and RJ Seiler. That's, you know, Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio. We're all Black, you know, working with Black men. That was a really dope experience. And also just being able to reimagine this very classic love story that's always, you know, most of the time whitewashed in a different way, because it's, you know, Black, Romeo is Black, and Juliet is Latina. So, and I'm Afro Latino, I'm Puerto Rican as well. So I was around my people, you know, on set. And so it was just really, we really just got to create something really magical and really different. And I hope everybody that's watching that knows me from Wu is ready for it, because I'm playing a completely different character. And I love it.
They're on here saying that they want you to be their Romeo. People are like, they're thirst trapping. They're like, wait a minute, can you be our Romeo?
So hit me up. We'll see.
I love it. So, and when is it? When can we watch it? When can we see it?
So that was another thing that was kind of, you know, thrown by the Rona. The Rona just came and wiped up everything for everybody. Right. But that should be releasing, I think, later or either later this year or at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
I heard that, you know, we're still supposed to be doing the festival circuits, and so hopefully we'll be in some festivals once those start back up, and eventually, you know, a limited theatrical release, and then hopefully picked up by a streaming service. So it'll definitely be released and available. As far as the when time right now is just such a weird thing, I think, for everybody. So I don't really have no solid answers, but that it's in the canon. It's finished. It's the movie. We were able to wrap it before Corona hit, so it'll definitely be out soon. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. How have you protected your mental state? I know we talked a little bit about self-care at the beginning. How have you protected your mental state during quarantine, throughout this whole process of, you know, being on the go, having these projects that you were set to film and then them all coming to a halt? What have you done to, you know, protect yourself and protect your mind and your heart of, you know, what's going on with that as well?
Right. I feel like for the most part, I've been good. I've been blessed. I think at a time like this, it puts a lot of stuff into perspective. And realizing the things that are important within my life.
Right.
And always just taking note of that, checking in on that, because that evolves and that changes as we evolve, and as time, you know, continues. The things that may be important to you right now may not be important to you in a couple years or in a couple months or in even a couple days, you know? So I think like having that awareness and continuously checking in on the things that I need, that on top of, like I said, just being trying to stay physically active. So I started, you know, for a while I was doing some yoga and, you know, going on runs and bike rides and stuff like that is always helpful for me, because health is wealth. So if I'm physically feeling healthy and I'm feeling good, then my spirits are normally aligned with that.
Right.
I also just, you know, came off of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, because I'm Muslim. And so I was able to fast. And that for me actually was the grounding that I needed in a time of chaos in the world. Because, you know, when the corona originally hit, it was so much chaos and confusion.
Right.
You know, am I going to get it? Do I have it already? Am I going to pass it to this person? There was paranoia. There was all of these negative energies kind of requesting so much from all of us. And I was able to, in that time, have Ramadan, which is, you know, a month, the holy month of fasting.
Right.
And I was able to get closer to God. I was able, and in turn, be able to get closer to myself. So I'm kind of still holding on to some of that energy and using it and preserving it, and pray that I can preserve it throughout the rest of the year. Because, you know, within that, you fast, you don't eat or drink water while the sun is up, no smoking, no drinking alcohol, no cursing. You try to refrain from gossiping. You try to refrain from just any of that energy that could be put into something positive. You know, you refrain from giving it to negativity. And I think that that's just something, it's always nice to have that month, because it comes around every year. It's not at the same time every year. It actually goes back month, you know. But that's what's kept me grounded. And I definitely recommend it. Anybody can fast. You know, you don't have to be Muslim. I know a lot of people, you know, just do intermittent fasting, or, you know, will do a fast for a weekend. But just something like that puts things into perspective of, we are all people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many followers you have on Instagram. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your account. It doesn't matter, you know, like, we are all people at the end of the day. And so being reminded of that humanity helps me so much in times of chaos. It doesn't matter where the chaos is coming from.
What is your hope for us as a country moving forward? What's your hope?
My hope is that there are systems that change. There are changes within the system. Right now, I've been standing by and screaming and shouting with everybody else to defund the police. I believe that that's what needs to happen right now.
Right.
I believe that funds need to be reallocated to within the Black communities, and we need to uplift Black people as a whole.
Right.
All Black people, Black men, Black women, Black trans men, Black trans women.
Yes.
Kids,
Yes.
Black bodies and Black spirits need to be uplifted. And in order for that to happen, there is money, because we live in a capitalist society, you know, capitalistic society. So that's what I'm aiming for, in a more metaphorical, you know, sense. I want my niggas to be good. Okay, that's just what it is. I want us to be good. I want us to continue to have conversations in which we are challenging things.
Yes.
I want us to stop labeling. I want us to dead this whole "that's some white people" shit. I want Black people to be complex, and as complex as we are and
yes.
want to be at any given moment.
Yes.
I want this idea of Blackness to be erased,
right.
because we define it ourselves.
Right.
But for so long, this society of built on, you know, and fueled by white supremacy has been trying to put us into a box.
Right.
And so now that we are breaking out of that box, and have been for years, because I won't say that this generation, our generation, I think it's arrogant for us to say, oh, our ancestors, blah, 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 wasn't doing this, that, and the third, because we wasn't there. Right. We wasn't dealing with the shit that they had to deal with.
Right.
We can only deal with what we're dealing with now. What we're dealing with now is that people are able to have conversations, or claiming that they are able to have conversations in ways that they couldn't have before. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And let's also do something about it. For me, I'm a money man, so I think money is important. I know the power within money, power within media, you know what I'm saying? And also, like, for me, I'm an artist, so I'm interested in creating art that helps drive that, you know? Right. I'm interested in creating art that helps drive different narratives of the different types of complexities within Blackness in America. Right. So that way hopefully we can get to a point where everything doesn't have to be so black and white, but we're not there yet. Right. And so we can't say that we're ready to have conversations like that and also still be having to deal with microaggressions and a bunch of other bullshit that limits conversations. Right. So.
Well, SIDDIQ, the people said you've spoken, you were spoken. You were amazing. Thank you for just your spirit. Thank you for taking the time to share with us today. I feel that as I continue to use this platform to talk, I would be remiss if I didn't ask these questions, especially to, you know, brothers like yourself. So I had to ask, and thank you for being open to share with us. We will be looking for Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
And we'll be looking for season 2 of Wu-Tang.
Yes.
So keep us posted on everything you're doing. We support you, my brother, and thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And to the people out there, I appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Yes.
And yeah, just keep running up that Wu-Tang, and we'll be back on set, and we will be back creating for y'all. So
we'll be watching you. The ladies will be in your DM too.
y'all can pull up. Y'all can pull up. I'll be in there too sometimes.
Ladies, y'all heard that? Pull up. Thank you so much, SIDDIQ. I appreciate you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Where is the buzz? Oh, where is the buzz? You said was mine.
Where is the buzz?